So in astrology, the mystical part is getting to know the planets. Each planet's like a being or a god or a psychological complex. They have multifacets and many layers. There's a dimension of consciousness with each planet and a function associated with it, or several functions. And all of those things will be affected by the sign the planet is in and will shift as they change signs. So getting to know, when you're studying astrology, getting to know the planets and the signs is one layer, getting to know the planets and the houses is another, getting to know the aspects and putting together. So when you start studying, you get, for some months you may, or for a year, you may just see the planets and the signs, and then you'll start to add, then you'll start to see, for a while you see the planets and the houses, and then you'll see the aspects, and eventually they start integrating together and coming together, which is the, where you can work with them together and see how they work. This is the, this is where I want to get you to, so you're self-sufficient and you can think in depth for yourself about an individual horoscope and its implications. Now, you're going to want to have, I may have mentioned this, but you're going to want to have 5 or 10 people that are your close people that you're going to be watching. You're doing the work on your chart. You're going to be watching theirs too to see how they are for these categories as we go through it. So you want your mom, your dad, any brothers or sisters, a husband or kids. These are all people you know that you can see that you're experiencing with, that will, they'll be your guinea pigs that prove astrology for you and make you, and get your, and build up your confidence because you'll be able to see it. Okay, so, but understanding the planets, there's, it's like a jewel, each planet's like a jewel with 100 facets, and we normally can do one facet at a time, and it takes a while to understand the different layers, to free up each of the facets of the jewel so you can see multidimensionally, so you can see, get to know each planet or each god or each function. Usually we live at one planet or one function at a time in our life. And as we grow spiritually, we begin to increase the depth of our functioning. We begin to increase our, we begin to live in more than one planet at the same time. We begin to multitask, I guess you would call it in today's words. In India, each planet's a yoga. And the yoga is, there's a challenge of each planet, there's a work with each planet, and there's a way of doing it negatively, which takes you away from God or spirit, and there's a way of doing it positively, which keeps you in union with the divine. So there's 2 ways we can play it, and we will go both ways at different times in our lives. And we get to develop our wisdom through this. So this is the fascinating aspect of astrology. Many people have a chart, they've read a bit about the planets and the signs, they can say something, oh, that means this, oh, that means this, but usually they get 1 or 2 ideas and say, oh, that's what it means, and they don't stop to think deeper about it, and they're just making intellectual associations, and say, and just, okay, that's there, it's not there, and very quickly, we're doing that, but we're anchoring it in your chart. So once you've done it completely for your chart, you're not going to have to do it for everyone else, but you'll be able to think like that in these stages automatically. So it's worthwhile to take the time to work these planets these ways. And by the time you get to advanced things, it makes it much easier and much more fulfilling. So, okay. So with astrology, we're starting with the solar system. Really, we're starting with being born. And at the moment we're born, we have an aura around us. And that aura around us is conditioned by the aura of the Earth, or the weather and the temperature and the climate and the aura of the Earth at the time we're born. And the Earth's aura, or magnetic field, is affected by the solar system and all the other planetary fields and the sun and the moon. And these all together make the over picture. So the overview of the solar system, it has an effect on the Earth, and it has an effect directly on our psyche and our being. So this is where you get the horoscope for a moment you're born. It represents the potential of everything you're capable of being. It's your DNA. It's the DNA of it's everything you're capable of doing, if we could ever complete it all. I mean, usually, if we could get 5–10% of our potentials in our life, we'd be geniuses in today's world. So there's so much we can do. There's so much more we can grow into. But understand, we have several pieces of information databases that we work with. First, we have the physical planets out in the sky. We see the lights, we see the sun, we see the moon. How can these have any meaning? And the meaning has always been there. As long as there's been man, that people have been making meaning of it's light out, it's dark out, it's winter, it's summer, it's the new moon, it's the full moon, the tides are high, the tides are low, and weather, growing things. Our whole attachment to nature is measured by the horoscope. Now, how well do we live in touch with nature? In one way, we can't be separate from our own nature. But in another way, we live in very artificial environments, and we can control light, we can control things. So we get out of touch with our own nature, and this can cause diseases and different things. So, okay, I'm rambling a bit, but I'm just beginning classes. It's just to get the overview around it. And okay, so I've made these, one second, still organizing my screen here a bit. Get me, so I'm not looking at me so much. Okay, so okay, here we go. So we start off with our solar system in space. Well, when we look at a chart, we just see a circle on a page. That's not enough to describe it. It's a living textured thing. So we have our solar system, which are the planets going around the sun. We have a magnetic sphere. In this picture, you see the blue magnetic sphere around it. And in its movement, there's also another vital magnetosphere that's moving around the solar system, and you look like a comet as it's moving around the sun. And it's burning, each layer is different layers of energy. And so we're just gonna gotta go through a few of these things. So we'll just, and when you see the planet, here's the size, a relative size of the sun, and you see the planets coming out from, they're not exactly in the right proportion, the planets. They're in the right order of how they come out from the sun, but they're not in the right sizes here. But we have to begin to know a few certain things. So Mercury is the closest planet to the sun. It goes around in 88 days. It moves fast. Venus is next, and it takes about 10 months to go around. And then Earth takes a year to go around. These are all Earth times. Mars takes a little under 2 years to go around for one cycle. Jupiter takes 12 years to go around, and it's huge. But its day, it spins around, that huge planet spins around in something like 11 hours, like in half of the time it takes for the Earth to spin around. So there's different textures around each of these, like the speed that each first planet rotates, how fast it's moving around its orbit, how far it away is from the sun. These are all factors that begin to determine some of the meanings or the implications of these. So people say, how can something out there that we see have any effect on us personally? And that's what astrology is. We're all connected. It's all interrelated, and we come to see it. Saturn next, then Uranus, then Neptune, then Pluto. Now over the next 50 years, there are going to be another 40 or 50 planets, smaller outside planets you can't see, that are going to be discovered. And they're going to be added into the people's horoscopes. It's too much, but they'll do it. And you'll find there's areas where this can work. But the main factors that you're going to see, and you're going to see it as main factors in your life, are the moon, the sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. The ones you can see. And then we can see the effects of Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. But really, we're working most strongly, most practically with the 7 planets we can see, they're named after the 7 days of the week: Sunday, Moon Day, Mars Day, Mercury Day, Jeudi, Jupiter Day, Vendredi, Venus Day, Saturn Day. So the days of the week are just named after the planets. Okay, let's keep going here. This is one which shows the sizes more correctly. It puts them in the right distance, but you're seeing the size. Mercury is very tiny and closest to the sun. Venus, still almost the size of the Earth, just a little smaller into it, but close. Then the Earth, then Mars is smaller than the Earth, but bigger than Mercury. From Earth, look how big Jupiter is compared to the Earth. Huge. and Saturn, and Uranus, and Neptune. Pluto's tiny. But each, because of the size, each has a different presence and a different dimension of influence because of it. So these are factors on how important or influential each planet is in our life. It takes time to visualize the whole sky or the heavens from knowing. At first, we're working with the symbols, the circle of the heavens, the chart, the symbols for the planets. We're using symbols for the planets, but even these big planets, when they put in a symbol around the chart, they take up like 1/10 of a degree. They're smaller than a pencil. The pencil point would be when you're drawing out a chart. We can't see it that way, so we put a big symbol there, and we're reading the symbol that reminds us that it's there. But it's really points of light, points of energy. Oops, this one here. This shows again the sizes: Pluto, Mercury, Mars, Venus, and the Earth. So with the inner planets, Earth is the largest. Mercury is really has almost no atmosphere. Venus has total atmosphere. It's, sulfuric acid is around it, and we can't even get down there. Yeah. So, and then these are the other planets: Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Earth, Venus, Mars, Mercury, and Pluto. So you can see, like, just this perspective. This is the physical reality around it. And the pattern of these planets, where they are, what signs are in, what houses are in, this is our DNA. This is the core seed of our matrix that will grow into the tree that we're going to be. Okay. So I like this picture of the sun because it has a bit of a grid around it. But you have the sun, you can see the Mercury, the Venus, the Earth with the moon, the Mars, you see the asteroid belt. I mean, there's astrologers in everything. There's astrologers that watch the individual asteroids. There's astrologers that watch the stars. There's astrologers watch comets. There's so many. Anything that happens, you can find a meaning for it. But to keep it in perspective, so you see how to integrate it into your life and to make it normal. That's it. You're the definition of your chart. When you're born, you're the answer to the universe at that moment in time and point in space. You are the solution to the whole thing. And you can't, I mean, words really are the lowest form of astrology, but we're using our language and we're using words to explain it so we can see the energies and watch energies and then even get to mental intuitive concepts behind these. Okay.